all want to stay on the team, I think, and have this team continue in the years. So that's like, we need to do the tour and we need to be there in the races. So show ourselves, have a good attitude, be able to show people that we're a team that can be there and a good team and the riders are strong. Because I think some people just don't find us credible. And it's something that bothers me so much because we're there and we're as strong as everyone else. So to me, my main goal of the year would be like, we're there and we're going to be there for a long time.
Welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast. I'm Matthew Piaro, and returning is Matt Hansen. Welcome back, Matt.
I'm back, baby.
Oh, we missed you so much.
That sounds so sincere.
Yeah, sincere. Yep, definitely. And Jake, it's sincerely good to see you too.
It's so great to be back, guys. And, like Nielsen Paulus said, being on this pod is, quote, this is the biggest win of my life.
Wow, a Dwars door reference right out of the gate.
Wow.
Big deal.
Recently, Matt, you and I were looking at team lineups, and we noticed something very curious about a team called Winspace Orange Seal. It's a pro team, second division team based in France. It has 11 riders, 4 are French, 2 are from Poland, 1 is from Ireland, and the rest are from Canada. So our question was, how did so many Canadians get on a French pro team? So I spoke to all of them to find out. Those interviews with Florence Normand, Jenaya Francis, Kiara Lylyk, and Nadia Gontova are just ahead. But first, Matt and Jake, let's talk racing. On this episode, each of us are going to present a significant event or facet of the road season so far. Something that has really struck us, stayed with us, and that we want to highlight and maybe unpack some of its implications. Matt, let's start with you, returning Matt Hansen. What is the race or event you want to look at?
Well, you and I were both watching Dwars door Vlaanderen in the office, and I think we both screamed, like probably many cycling fans did, when Nielsen Paulus basically outsmarted 3 Visma guys, including Wout van Aert, who kind of wanted to win quite a bit, and I ended up being his undoing. Yeah, I thought that was just... We remember Ian Sandard winning at Omloop Nieuwsblad in 2015, again, defying the impossible odds of one rider beating 3 others, but they threw everything they could at him, which is what you're supposed to do, and what Visma didn't do. We're watching the finale here, and Paulus is sitting on, and I'm kind of thinking, why is he just sitting on? Why aren't they doing something? Maybe they made a deal of some sort. Who knows? But sure enough, then they began a lead out, Jorgensen, Benoot, for Wout, and Van Aert started sprinting, and all of a sudden, oh my God, the young man in pink came by him and just took it a win. And you could see it in all the guys on Visma's faces. They grabbed their helmets, just went, oh no, So I wrote a pretty stinging article, like lots of other people did, how they threw away a guaranteed win. And, really, he shouldn't have been there in the finale at all. He could have either been dropped or just totally gassed, because the other riders, Benoot and Jorgensen, should have been taking turns, 1-2ing him. So when they finally got to the sprint, he's screwed. They didn't do that. Wout was obviously pretty upset, but at the same time, we all know that there's a lot of pressure from the media for him to win a big race. And he even admitted, it was my ego that got in the way. I told the boys to leave me out against what the DS said, which they said textbook stuff, attack, ruin the guy's legs or take him off the back, whatever you can do. And he said, no, I told him to leave me out because I wanted to win, have a beautiful win like that. And it was his ego, which is, part of being a great cyclist as well. But anyway, the DSs afterwards did say, yeah, we're not doing that again. We're going to do it the old school way.
Watching that standard race, I mean, the amount of time he spends on the front bringing down those attacks versus what we watched at Dwars, like just completely different.
And it was just as like it was Terpstra and Bonin, some of the best riders of the era, right? And they were just one-twoing him, which is what you're supposed to do.
Kind of an interesting kind of outcome, given that Paulus was on the team with a lot of those guys, and he talked in the interview talking about how I used to lead Wout out as well, and I figured this is what was going to happen, and I think he said 9 times out of 10 he gets beat by him, and hey, I guess this was the 10th.
I mean, he said it was the biggest one of his life, and I think it's not only the biggest one; it's the most memorable one.
You mentioned how Van Aert took full responsibility. He did so in the interview right after. You mentioned he said it was selfish, but Benoot also said he wanted Wout to be the winner. He'd just been at altitude with Van Aert and really, I think felt for him, felt that what an amazing quote-unquote revenge this might be against Dwars door Vlaanderen, where Wout van Aert crashed at a horrible crash last year. What like a redemption, what a comeback. But so it makes sense. And I can't even really fault them for the Van Aert's selfishness.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I mean, but they were really cooking at the end, the three of them. They were really pulling hard. And Paulus was pulling, but eventually he's kind of like, all right, I guess I'll just sit on here, right? Which is just the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do. But like you said, they were trying to prep a magnificent victory. Just went south.
And Van Aert admitted to having a leg cramp too at the end. So that may have something to do with the timing of his preparation, coming down from altitude, all of these other factors.
But like we said, he could have, I said in the article, if you'd done things right, Paulus would have been completely screwed, tank emptied from covering all these moves, and Van Aert would beat him with one leg, right? That's what should have happened. But anyway. But at the same time, hey, this is what makes cycling great, right? I mean, you don't always want to have predictable finishes.
Just to our own experience watching the race, you and I, Matt, are watching together the final kilometers thinking, oh, okay, whatever. We can almost just check out now. And so then when it came down to the finish line, we were literally screaming.
No, and this is, like I said, it can't always be the same result. So it's sometimes you want that breakaway to finish by 2 seconds. Sometimes you don't want to get them swooped up by the peloton, things can change.
I was going to say the clip of him finishing and coming to a stop with the soigneurs, he's in shock. He literally, I think, says like, what just happened or what the heck's going on? Like, I think he didn't believe
this is Paulus.
Exactly. Sorry. This is Paulus when he finished, and I think coming to terms with the fact that he was able to pull that off.
Well, it's kind of like when Van der Poel took Amstel in 2019. It was just one of those moments where he grabs his helmet saying, what the F just happened? So like I said, the unpredictable is kind of great sometimes. That's what makes cycling so exciting.
All right, Matt, thank you for taking us through Dwars door Vlaanderen, the men's edition. Jake, what is the event, race, moment that you want to focus on from the 2025 season?
All right, so I'm going to rewind a little bit. We're going to go back to early March for this year's edition of Strade Bianche in the beautiful white Tuscan roads of Italy. The updated 2025 edition featured one extra gravel section from last year, bumping the total up to 16 over the whole 213 kilometers parcours. Now, this year was a little different than last year, if you may have remembered. Last year, Mr. Tadej Pogačar went very early. I believe it was over 80 kilometers out on a solo attack, effectively. This year, instead, previous winner, 2023 winner, Tom Pidcock, decided to stretch the legs a little bit with 78 kilometers to go. He attacked, but of course, Pogačar was on his wheel as they started Sector 9. So about, halfway through that race. Now, interestingly enough, I think one of the biggest moments of cycling this year, or at least men's road cycling, was seeing the two flailing rainbow legs of Tadej Pogačar flying into the ditch after coming off of his bike on a descent, where the trio of escapees, including Connor Swift. Now, I think all of us, including you guys at the office, well, you wouldn't have been at the office, it was the weekend, were exclaiming, given the fact that all of a sudden in the moment, we're potentially watching the end of the season for Mr. Tadej Pogačar. Hit his head pretty hard. His kit was torn up. It was a bit scary.
If it had been a couple of meters, it had been a meter or so to the right, it would have been... Yeah.
Even worse. Right? Yeah. So gets back on his bike. Seems to be okay. He did have a bike change. Now, we did see some bike change. We did get those two guys. Unfortunately, Connor Swift fell off, or at least Tadej Pogacar rode through Connor Swift to get back to Tom Pidcock. And then I think one of the more iconic moments, one of the more iconic climbs, in my opinion, kind of underrated, the Colle Pinzuto, 4-star section, one of the last sections of the race. We see Tadej Pogacar seated, just slowly riding away from Tom Pidcock. And that did turn into being the decisive move of the race. Always great to see a solo winner coming into Siena on that final climb. But I think it was extra sweet being Tadej Pogacar in the torn up World Championships kit, which added a little bit of excitement. One thing I did want to note, as soon as he crossed the line and he was celebrating and coming down, you could see the endorphins start to wear off, and you could start to see him kind of go, oh yeah, I've got all this road rash on my body. This is terrible. So I thought that was quite exciting. Now, I do like to talk about the finish and how it maybe wasn't as exciting as, say, a Zenedict Stibar win in 2015 over Greg Van Avermaet in a, let's call it a crit style sprint around those last couple corners. But no, he ties Fabian Cancellara's record of 3 wins in this race. And at that moment, we all kind of thought, okay, Tadej Pogacar, he crashes and he still wins by a gap. This season's all his. Now, to piggyback or to fast forward a little bit to Milan-San Remo, where we see him in the finale, I think a lot of us assuming, well, he's going to get it done again. And of course, a Mr. Mathieu van der Poel comes around. So I thought that moment in the season was very exciting. That whole race is just beautiful, and I always love to highlight it. What did you guys think?
I like the contrast you make there, Jake, between those two races, the Strade Bianche and Milan-San Remo that followed one another. It's part of the roller coaster of how we view riders. 1 minute where we think they're invincible, and the other we see moments of fallibility. I think even recently, Jake, I think it was the last podcast, you made the joke about last year, Mathieu van der Poel had a loss and people start scribbling, oh, that's it for his career. It's a downward trajectory from here off of, I think it was it Gent-Wevelgem last year that people started musing this out loud. And I've even heard it for Michael Matthews, and yet he comes back and wins in Quebec City every year. So it's really hard to. Anyway, it's the danger we always face of making predictions here. This episode of the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast is supported by MS Bike. I hope you've been able to get outside by now to do some riding. If not, stay strong, indoor trainer riders. Stay strong. Wherever you're pedaling, you should gear that work toward a good cause. MS Bike has 11 rides across the country. These are top-notch, fully supported events. The first ones are in June in Alberta. The last one is in Waskesiu, Saskatchewan. There are also rides in Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, and Nova Scotia. No matter which one you choose, there's still plenty of time to prepare. If you need some training tips, there are 2-month and 3-month plans for you on the Canadian Cycling Magazine website. You'll find links to them in the show notes. Remember, through an MS Bike event, you raise funds which go to help MS research and services. Did you know that 60% of those diagnosed with MS are between 20 and 49, with an average diagnosis age of 43? Give your riding some focus and some purpose. Head to msbike.ca. Register and start fundraising. All right, from Strade Bianche, I would like to move to, well, here's where I'm going to be slightly unfair to you guys. I get to pick 2 things to highlight because, well, I can. I'm going to first start with the Lorena-Wiebes Lotte Kopecky combo. But first, let's look at Lorena Wiebes, who has just had a stellar first part of the season. UAE Women's Tour points jersey, then she won Le Samin des Dames, Milano-San Remo Donne, and then Classic Brugge de Pana, Gent-Wevelgem, and Flanders Fields. It's like this sprinter, Lorena Wiebes, is on fire. And also, though, part of the reason for her successes is having Lotte Kopecky as a teammate. And we saw in Milan-San Remo, Lotte Kopecky just drag back Elisa Longo-Borghini, who was out for a flyer, and looked like she almost had the win. But then Lotte Kopecky just shuts that down and sets up her teammate, Lorena Wiebes. And then there was also Ghent-Wevelgem, which Lotte Kopecky's work wasn't as obviously... wasn't as showy, let's say, wasn't as jaw-dropping. But I was watching that race back, and Kopecky is there, expertly guiding Wiebes through the pack into the finale, and then Wiebes just seals the deal at the end. So I just think that is an amazing duo. Well, the whole team comes together, but those two at the end of a race are so formidable. But I'm just wondering looking ahead to what might be in store for Kopecky. And I think this may be a bold prediction, but I think she's going to be up there at the Tour de France Femmes. The challenge always is the climbing nature of the Tour de France Femmes. But if you look back to 2023, Kopecky was second overall. I'd say Demi Vollering is probably the number one pick still. But, last year, you wouldn't have been picking, I don't think many people would have been picking Kasia Niewiadoma to win. She did. In any case, the competition at the TDF Femme it'll be amazing this year. And because I can pick two, I want to highlight the work of Canadian rider Nicholas Zukowski. Just to remind everyone, he's from the Laurentians area of Quebec, but he's spent a lot of time in Arizona. He came up through a North American scene that's largely gone. He was on teams like Silver Pro Cycling, Floyd's, and then Rally/Human Powered Health when it had a men's team. In 2023, he moved to Q36.5. I should also mention that was the year he became the elite men's national champion. He was also national champion in under 23 in 2019. Other palmares include 2019 Best Climber at the Grand Prix Montreal, and he won the Grand Prix Cycliste de Saguenay in 2019. That's a race that no longer exists. Anyway, I bring up Zukowski because if you've been watching any race that has Tom Pidcock in it, you have seen Zukowski working really hard at the front. For me, what was striking was his work in Tirreno Adriatico, just hauling at the front of the pack for kilometer after kilometer.
You see the former Canadian armbands just working away at the front there. It's not hard to spot him because of those maple leafs on his sleeves. Exactly.
And then he did DNF on the final stage of Tirreno Adriatico. But Matt, you and I were discussing that is probably a wise move on his part.
Yeah, his job is over, and sure, when guys are younger and they're trying to prove something, they want to finish the race. And also it adds the whole idea of durability for a pro to get to stage races in their legs. But he knows that his bosses are going to say, yep, that's fine. You did what you're supposed to do. So, and
it could just speed up recovery for his next gig at the front of the pack.
Exactly.
Working for Pidcock.
Yep.
Now, I looked back at his season and I compared it with Mr. Tom Pidcock's, and they've been at all the same races. So, if I'm looking into my crystal ball, recently Q36.5 got the wildcard invite to the Giro d'Italia. And I think based on all the work that Zukowski has been doing, we'll likely see him helping out Tom Pidcock at that race. So it'll be good to see those little maple leafs on his sleeves on the roads of Italy once again.
Yeah, it'd be great to see.
All right, Matt and Jake. Winspace Orange Seal is a women's pro team based in France. Yet, it has a rider from Alma, Quebec. That's north of Quebec City on beautiful Lac Saint-Jean. There's also a rider from Vancouver, a rider from Guelph, Ontario, as well as one from Edmonton. Now, that's a good spread for a national project, but those riders are now based in Europe. These riders are Florence Normand, Nadia Gontova, Kiara Lylyk, and Jenaya Francis. The team, Winspace Orange Seal, has been around since 2013, but you could probably trace its roots a bit further back than that. Its team principal is Jean-Christophe Barbotin. In 2022, when the squad was at the continental level, it got a call-up to the Tour de France Femmes. Back then it was called Stade Rochelais Charente-Maritime. That squad got rocked at the Tour de France Femmes. Of the 6 riders who started the race, only 1 finished. This year, the team has moved up to the pro team level. And good news is that Winspace Orange Seal just recently got an invite to the 2025 Tour de France Femmes. So they'll be back. The team is stronger than it was before. And also the Canadians have been part of that growth and that show of strength that we've seen on the roads early this season. So it'll be exciting to see what happens in the months ahead. But now, let's see if we can answer the following questions. Who are these Canucks? And how did they all get on this French pro team? Let's find out. Florence Normand, welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast.
Thank you.
You are a 23-year-old rider from Alma, Quebec. Alma is on beautiful Lac Saint-Jean, north of Quebec City. Today, you are on the UCI Women's Pro Team Winspace Orange Seal, which is based in France. You have a twin sister, Adele, who is also a pro roadie. How did the two of you fall into cycling?
Actually, my dad, when he was younger, he's from Montreal, and one of his brother was racing the Maldilation, so the famous crit series. And I think my dad just always had this love for cycling, and we were always into sport, playing soccer, gymnastic, alpine skiing. And yeah, so my dad introduced us to cycling. Adele started a year or 2 before me, actually, and I just thought it looked fun, so I joined in.
And what did you like about cycling at a young age?
I don't know, actually. I think initially it was just being able to do things with my sister and my dad and go out and go around the whole of Quebec, and travel and see people and race my bike. And I don't know, also when we were young at LNI, I think really, even in the beginning of racing, we picked up on the fact that it was a team sport, and we raced really well together. Even like when we were maybe U15, we were racing strategically for each other, and I just like the aspect of the sport, yeah.
Now, at the moment, you and your sister are on different teams. How is that now that you're competitors?
It's pretty funny, mostly because we're both on French teams and we're both on pro teams, and it's like a new category. And in France, all the teams are pro teams. So it's always been like that, like a competition on who's the best French team. So we're also mostly doing the same races for the rest of the year. But it's like she's always my sister first. I think even the team knows that, her team knows that. And if I'm in the bunch and she's there, like, I'm not going to push her over. It's so funny because we have a very specific style on the bike. So we look the same on the bike, and we're always riding next to each other because we have the same mindset. And yeah, if she's there and I'm just like, hey, how are you? And then if there's a crash, I'm just, Adele, are you okay? And other than that, she's my sister before she's anything else.
In May 2024, you moved from the team Baloise WB Ladies over to Winspace. Mid-season moves are not that common. How did that move come about?
For me, it was always a goal to sign a pro contract and go back in the UCI ranking. Sadly, in 2023, I got Epstein-Barr because I wasn't a pro team at that time. And for 2024, it was just impossible for me to sign on another UCI team. It's so competitive at the moment. But in the women's field, I think there's a lot of openings to the fact that if you're good, teams are going to take a shot on you. And some teams have really small roster. Like even our team this year, we're only 11. And 11 is a small roster when you consider that some races are 7 riders. So I just knew that Winspace last year, they only had 10 riders because someone was injured. And I could see just in the way they were racing that they would probably need to sign someone. And I thought it looked really cool, the team. I knew the team from the previous years as well. So I just kind of reached out and I was like, I really like the team. I think I would fit well. I'd be really happy to work with Carolina, which is our main leader for the mountains. And they really needed someone at the time. So they signed me on.
That's interesting. I didn't know there was so much sort of fluidity between the teams. And as you mentioned, the team has been around for a while. It was founded in around 2013. And so it's an established group. And you pitched yourself. So you put yourself out there to the team. I find that interesting too.
Yeah, well, like I said before, cycling is a team sport, and you have a good chance of getting on a team if you're a good person and if you show that you understand that it's a team sport. Some people, even if they're really strong, just can't make it into a sport because they don't realize that they're going to have to work for other people, and their wins also depend on other people. You have to be thankful and willing and all of these things that make you a good teammate or a good leader. So I think that throwing yourself out there and showing that you're someone like that is good for you, yeah.
In 2024, Winspace was a UCI women's continental team, and this year it's a UCI women's pro team, so it's gone up a division level. Have you noticed any changes with that switch?
In the team, they kind of told us at the first team camp we had in December, they said, we know we're taking the step and we know we're not ready, but we have to take it. We have to do it for the team. We have to do it for the future. So I think from their perspective, initially, it was just not, they thought that it was going to be hard for us. We signed a new sports director, Damien, and then they also signed the coach in the team, Frank. And I think the staff this year is just, it's amazing to see how far from not thinking that we could be a big team to now. To me, it's just, yeah, it's incredible how the girls are riding well. And you can see everyone is so strong on the team. It's kind of funny because we look like we're a bit maybe not as good as the other pro country teams, but I personally can see the potential that it's there. And we're already doing so many good results. And the only thing that's missing this year, because it did take up a notch, it's just we are a lot of riders that never rode together before. As when you look at the other teams, some riders have been in the same team for 3, 4, 5 years. And for us, it's all new. So there's just this little cohesion missing because all the girls are getting along so well and everything's so nice. Just, it's really like everyone says that, but this team is really like a little family. And that's why it's funny that we're pro country, but the level's there. It's just the structure looks different than the others, but the level is there this year.
You did mention that you're a team of 11, and there has been a lot of changeover. I think you and only 2 other riders came over from last year's team, and the rest is all new. What is it? Even though you've only been there, or it's only your second year, you're one of the senior riders. How does that feel?
Yeah, well, we're 5 girls from last year.
Oh, 5, okay.
Yeah, we're 5, but there's only one girl that's been there for more than a year. So Marine has been there for 4 or 5 years, but then Carolina, Aurelia, me, and Constance, we all signed last year. So I'd say that only riding with girls for 1 year, and last year, for example, I got like maybe 16 races, and I didn't manage to ride with them all the time. So it's just still new for me to ride with these girls, even though it's my second year in the team. So it's even for the girl that won the team last year, it's all getting to know each other and how we ride together and how we race together and what type of rider they are and how they move in the bunch and all these types of things.
3 of your new teammates are Canadians. There's Nadia Gontova, Kiara Lylyk, and Jenaya Francis. How did so many Canadians end up on this French team? Now, I believe, so there's 4 Canadians, 4 riders from France, and those are the 2 largest sort of nation populations on the team. But yeah, how did so many Canadians get there?
Yeah, it's funny. I've got the question a lot of times, and even when Adele talks to me a lot about how her team is and how my team is, and she's like, the girls on my team are just wondering, why is there so many Canadians on our team? Everybody's asking this. And yeah, it's not anything about sponsors. We don't really have Canadian sponsor. We do have Orange Seal, which is an American sponsor, but it has no link with the girls on the team. It's just really that the manager, Jean-Christophe, really just, I think he knows Quebec and Canada, and he knows the potential the girls there have, and that we're not given maybe the same amount of shots as the other girls in Europe. And the 3 girls, Jenaya, Nadia, and Kiara, they're just so strong and powerful. And Jenaya and Kiara are so young, and I just thought it would be like an opportunity for him and for them to develop themselves and maybe grow them through the year and be able to keep the riders and not the girls like from junior in the Netherlands that want to go world tour and they're going to sign somewhere else and they need a lot of money. And I think for both parties, it was just a really good opportunity. So yeah, you just wanted to give 3 girls that were really strong a good shot in Europe.
Do you see much of your Canadian teammates?
Yeah, I actually live with Kiara. So Kiara's my roommate. The girls are really into knitting. So sometimes we just have like knitting dates at a cafe or at someone's house, and we meet for dinner. We see each other all the time. We think it's really important to just try to be together and grow the links. Like I said, we've never ridden before, so I think the more we get to know each other, the better. And we get along so well, so we probably see it at least once a week.
See, I knew Nadia was into knitting, but I didn't realize everyone was meeting for knitting dates.
Yeah, well, Nadia is a really big knitter. She's knitting things that are just insane. And then Kiara is also pretty good. She just knitted a vest and a beanie, and now she's doing a beanie for me. So I'm excited she comes back from Belgium because I'm getting a new beanie. And then Jenaya, it looked cool. And we're on the road so much that might as well not be on your phone and do a vest or something.
You've been racing in Europe since about 2021, and you've also lived all over France and also in the Netherlands. And tell me about your experience learning the races and the roads of Europe.
Yeah, I think it's weird because I have been racing in Europe since 2021, but I've never had a full year of racing. In 2021, they made me race only half the year. 2022, I had to switch over mid-year. I went from a UCI team to a club. And 2023, I had Epstein Bar. Last year, I signed mid-year again with my team. And this year is the real full year I have in Europe. And also in the past few years, I think, except Winspace last year, I didn't really have a structure that would teach me how to be a good rider. I think I'm lucky that I understand racing pretty well. But it's just, you're throwing yourself out there and you're suffering from the races. And before last year, I think it was more the race, me just being destroyed by the races. And then last year, I think I was finally in a place where I felt strong enough to be in the races and learn from the races instead of just being slowly destroyed by them. And yeah, it's a bit hard to explain, to say, but all the countries have different type of racing. And I think I have a good mind for races so that I understand it pretty well. But I think I haven't had it figured out yet. I still have so much to learn.
It sounds like there's been a lot of ups and downs throughout your past few seasons. What has kept you focused and motivated throughout that time?
I think I've never been able to reach my potential, kind of. I know when I see where I can be and how strong I can be and the potential that I have, because I feel like I know it. It's just such a beautiful sport also, being able to travel the world. And sometimes I just have 5-6 hours ride and I'm outside and I turn a corner and it's just, the view's nice and you're like, oh, I love doing this. And pushing yourself on the bike is a nice feeling. Being here in Girona is a nice feeling. Being with the girls, I keep saying it, but we have such a good group this year that I go to team camp and I don't even feel like coming back home. So no, it's just, I want to see where I can go. And I know that there's still a lot for me to see from myself.
And what are some of your hopes for this season?
I think the goal number one for the team, not necessarily for me, but I think it's a goal for everyone on the team, is to get the team to go further. We all want to stay on the team, I think, and have this team continue in the years. So that's we need to do the tour and we need to be there in the races. So show ourselves, have a good attitude, be able to show people that we're a team that can be there and a good team and the riders are strong. Because I think some people just don't find us credible. And it's something that bothers me so much because we're there and we're as strong as everyone else. So to me, my main goal of the year would be we're there and we're going to be there for a long time.
Can you tell me more about that idea of other teams not finding you credible? Is it just because you moved up so recently to the pro level?
Well, yeah, I think we're kind of the underdog of the pro team category. The team has been there for a long time, but I don't think it's ever been a team that has showed that they're right together, that they're always in the front splits, that they're always there in the sprints, that they're doing the big races. And yeah, we can feel it in the bunch a little that when we're trying to stay together and be in a train formation, we don't get the same respect as World Tour formations and maybe other pro teams. But we're there. We have the right to be there as any other big teams, and we're strong enough to be there. So it's just getting accepted by the others, kind of, that they're not going to move us. We're there and we're there for the win and we want to win as well.
Well, Florence, thank you so much for your time, and good luck this season. I hope everything goes well for you.
Thank you so much.
That was Florence Normand of Winspace Orange Seal. I think she was the right person to speak with first in my quest to understand why so many Canadians are on the team. She had some great insight into the squad's evolution to the pro team status it has today. I'm also impressed how Normand identified how she could fit in with the team and pitched herself to them. I think it's one thing to say, I'd like to be a part of your team, and another to say, here's how I can fit in and help. Next up is Vancouver rider Nadia Gontova. You'll hear from her about how a mix of race results and her own network linked her with Winspace. Normand had a bit of an effect too. Nadia Gontova, welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You are the 2024 winner of the Redlands Bicycle Classic. That's a significant North American stage race that's turning 40 this year. Also, in 2024, you were second at the Chrono Féminine de Gatineau. You are 24 years old. You've been racing since about 2021. Before that, you were a rower. Tell me how you made the switch from paddles to pedals.
So I think it's a pretty common switch because it's pretty similar muscle groups. And when I was doing rowing, we would ride the stationary bikes as some cross training and often for our second workout of the day. So then during COVID, I wasn't able to row and I ended up going back home to my parents' house near Seattle. And so I wanted a way to stay in shape. So I tried running for a little bit, but it wasn't really working for me. And then I had a lot of teammates who were riding on the road and it seemed like so much fun and they were going cool places and it looked like they were having such a good time. So I kind of was wanting to get into that. And then I had a family friend who helped me out and let me borrow a road bike for a bit. And then during the summer of COVID, that's kind of how it all started. And then I did end up going back to rowing for a bit, but I think then my mind was kind of made that cycling was what I wanted to be doing. So I ended up switching to cycling shortly after.
You went to Team Red Truck. Now that's a development team that's been based in Vancouver for many years now. I think they just had their 30th anniversary or something. Tell me about the importance of that team in getting you started.
Yeah, I think Red Truck was so important. That definitely, it taught me so much about racing. When I joined Red Truck, they took me on as I was a Cat 3. I've done a couple local races and gotten results in some really small fields, but I was just so new to racing. I didn't know how to take a corner. I didn't know how to ride in the peloton, and they took me on, and I had teammates who were more experienced. So I was learning so much from my teammates, and the team really taught me a lot about what it means to be on a cycling team and what it means to be representing our sponsors, and you have to wear the right kits and everything that goes along with being on an elite level team. And then I also got some opportunities to do bigger races. So my first year on the team, I went to Joe Martin, and that was kind of my first big race. I didn't really even have a concept of what a big race was or what a pro team was. I just went along with the team and I didn't make time cut. It was so crazy. The peloton was just so big. But then I guess that's how I learned. And then next year I went to some big races. Next year I went to Redlands and I ended with Red Truck and I ended up winning a stage. And that's kind of where more opportunities started coming along after that. But if it wasn't for Red Truck, I definitely don't think I would have been able to make a career out of the sport.
You mentioned Redlands, and I also mentioned that at the top. That was a big win for you last year. What did that win mean for you?
Redlands is such a special race because 2 years ago, I guess 2023, I remember going into the race and it was maybe my second big race. I had done Joe Martin in 2022 and I didn't make time cut, and I was going into Redlands and I remember I was just I want to make time cut. I want to finish the race. I was going there with Red Truck, and then I ended up winning a stage on the mountaintop finish day. And maybe this sounds crazy, but I had never raced in a race with big climbs like that. So I genuinely didn't know I was a good climber going into that race. So then winning it was just the craziest thing ever. I just remember I was in such shock. So then being able to come back next year and just win the GC and also win the mountaintop finish day, it was just so special. And it was really like special to show that it wasn't just a fluke and prove to myself that I am good enough to do it again. And so I think the race will always be something really special for me from both years.
In 2024, your team was DNA Pro Cycling. Over the years, that team has been home to riders like Maggie Coles-Lister and Sarah Van Dam. But roughly midway through last season, the team announced that it would be folding. Was it around that time that you started speaking with Winspace, your current team?
I had the connection with Winspace through when I was on Roxo 2 years ago, but last year the team was Bone Shaker. And I guess there were talks about a merge or some sort of sponsors coming across to Winspace through the team. So when DNA announced that they were folding, the director from Bone Shaker reached out to me and told me about this team and that they were thinking about going pro Conti. And that's where I got the connection. And I definitely was really interested because they had big plans for the team. And then I also have an agent who I worked with. So he also ended up doing some more chatting. But I guess that's how the connection came around.
And what's it been like joining the new team?
It's been a really great experience so far. I think like all of the girls we all get along really well. And just overall, the team is pretty well organized, and I feel really well supported on the team. And there's so many big races on the calendar that are going to be really exciting and a big challenge to do. And also having so many Canadians, I think, on the team made my experience of joining a European team and moving to Europe, it made it so much easier because there's 4 of us on the team, 4 Canadians on the team, and also an Irish girl who are all living in Girona. So as soon as I came over to Girona, I just feel like I automatically had a friend group. I had teammates, I had training buddies, I have someone to complain about, I have someone to go to if I've had a bad race and I need to talk. Like, I have girls to eat dinner with. So I think it's been really great to have that for me coming onto a European team for the first time.
So the Canadians on the team are Florence Normand, Kiara, Lylyk, and Jenaya Francis. Why are there so many Canadians on this French team?
So Florence was on the team last year, and then me, Jenaya, and Kiara all joined the team this year. And I think that it's just kind of came to be that way rather than the team intentionally going out and signing a bunch of Canadians, because we all kind of signed at different times and we maybe got the connection to the team through somebody different. But then having Florence being on the team, she really, I know for myself, I talked to her a lot about her experience on the team, and I think it really made me feel reassured about signing with the team and knowing that this team is going to be well supported and it'll be a good environment for me, because sometimes talking to teams, it can be hard to tell what things are like behind the scenes, but having Florence to chat with and knowing that I would be teammates with her last year, I really helped. And I think that definitely contributed, but I think more so it's just a testament to how much up and coming talent there is in Canada, and that I guess the team is just capitalizing on some of this talent in North America.
So you have a nationality in common with 3 others, but another thing you have in common is knitting. Now, are you the head ringleader in the knitting circle, or did others already come with that skill?
I think like some other girls they dabbled a little bit, but I'm the one who's really pushing it. I'm sending people yarn recommendations and sending them patterns. So I'm definitely pushing it, but I think it's a really great hobby to have off the bike and something that's fun to do and socialize with.
Do you knit on the way to races, or is this just for back at home?
It's my favorite for like a travel day. Yeah, I think a long flight or a long travel day. Before I really got into knitting, I'd be like, oh, this is so boring. But now it's like I look forward to it because I know I can get some good work on my knitting in. And some races, like the Tour of Ardèche last year, there would be some really long transfers. It would be like almost 3 hours to and from the race some days. So then I definitely make use of that time to do some knitting in the car. But with the European roads, I definitely need to be a little bit careful to not get car sick.
Oh, that's great. You mentioned having yarn tips. It just makes me think that there's a whole technical aspect to knitting, I guess whether that's needle choice or yarn choice. Which is techier, bikes or knitting?
I think, I don't know, maybe similar. I think it's one of those things similar to bikes that you kind of slowly learn, and it maybe doesn't seem at the time like there's so much to know, but then if you're trying to break it down and explain it, then you realize like, oh, there is a lot that goes into this.
You have raced a bit in Europe prior to coming over to Winspace. You mentioned that you did Ardèche, Tour Cycliste Féminine Internationale d'Ardèche. That went pretty well for you. You were in a breakaway on one stage and finished third on that day. This year you've done some races in Spain. How are you finding competition in Europe?
It's definitely, for me, a bit of a transition, because I think the biggest kind of challenge for me in my whole career has been more the technical aspect, which is really a lot more difficult in Europe. And just like the peloton-less skill is so much higher, like positioning is so much harder, the roads are smaller, it's more technical. So that's something that's a bit of an adjustment. I think when the stage is really hard and there's really some hard climbs, I can still do well, which I think I showed to myself in Ardèche, which was really great to know that I can do it and I can race in Europe and do well. But the transition is a bit difficult to learn how to position and feel more confident in the bunch. And I think last season, I finally feel like I got the hang of racing in North America and the bunch, and now I'm taking another step up. So I guess it makes sense that it's like a little bit of a transition period. But I'm looking forward to racing some harder climbing days and using the more flat technical days to learn and to dial in my racecraft a bit.
So, Nadia, what is ahead for you in this road season?
So in April, I'm racing my first World Tour races. I'm racing Flèche and Liège, which is going to be pretty interesting because it's going to be my second and third races ever in Belgium. But I'm looking forward to having them as a learning opportunity and to leave it all out there and try to help support my team. And then looking beyond that, I don't have my exact schedule, but I think the focus for me is definitely the races with more climbing and bigger mountains, because I think that's what I'm most suited towards. And I think that races at the World Tour level, I'll maybe look at as more of a learning opportunity since I'm new to racing at that level. And then potentially some of the smaller races such as Ardèche, I'll hope to go for some results.
Well, Nadia, this sounds pretty exciting, and good luck with the rest of the season ahead. And yeah, I hope we get to talk again.
Yeah, thank you.
And that was Nadia Gontova. She added another piece to the puzzle of how all these Canucks ended up on Winspace. There's talent here in Canada, and it's getting recognized abroad. Next, you'll hear my talk with Kiara Lylyk. The team noticed this rider from Guelph, Ontario around May 2024, but it still took some time for Lylyk to land the gig. She made sure she stayed on the team's radar. A good result at a race here in Canada helped matters as well. Kiara Lylyk, welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You've competed in many cycling disciplines. In 2023, you were on the Team Pursuit squad that took gold at the Pan Am Games in Santiago. This past November, you won the cross-country race in the U.S. Collegiate Mountain Biking Nationals. And you recently started your road season in Europe. You were 11th at the Phoenix Omloop van het Hageland. You do all kinds of disciplines: road, cross-country, and track. Which was your first cycling discipline?
I started out, actually first,
I didn't like bikes.
What?
At all. My mom had to get me into biking. Like, it would be like, if we're going to get ice cream, then I'll ride. And that's how she got me to go to like the Kelso races in Milton. And so, yeah, I started out on the mountain bike.
So it was a bit of ice cream, bribery, and mountain bikes.
Yep, exactly. And then I realized how cool the mountain bike racing was. And actually, Nicole Bradbury, who I go to school with, I saw her riding. I had no idea who she was at the time. She was so fast, and I was so slow. And I was like, I just want to be as fast as her. So, yeah, started on the mountain bike.
Amazing. And then you just felt a little competitive when you saw Nicole Bradbury racing. That's pretty interesting. And then you mentioned Kelso races, which is in near Milton. And of course, Milton has the velodrome. When did you start getting into the track side of things?
Yeah, Chris Reed saw me at the Kelso races, and he was like, maybe you should give this track thing a go. And at the time, I had no idea what a track was. Like, yeah, I had no idea. And so he just brought me in to try the track, gave me a bike, first ever track bike. I raced on that bike through my juniors, even at Junior Worlds. And then it was direct ladder, I guess, like grassroots to national team program through Chris Reed, honestly.
That's wild. Yeah, and Chris Reed is a coach, been involved at the Milton Velodrome for quite a number of years, helping bring up riders into the sport.
Yeah, he's done so much great work. Like, you can see it through Michael Leonard, Carson Mattern, Dylan Bibick. Like, everything ties back to Chris, I think. So, yeah, it's cool.
Definitely a force in Canadian cycling. Do you plan on returning to any of these other disciplines? I mean, you were just mountain biking last November, but what about track? Where does it sort of sit in your discipline mix, your cycling discipline mix?
At the moment, I really love the track. It's really hard to balance, though, with the Canadian programming. Before each major race, we have to go back and do a prep camp. And with the road, I'm trying to just get that career starting. So it felt like I had to make a choice for 2025, and that was come to Europe, stay here, race, and just do as my team kind of wants me to do. But they're full in support of the track. It's just trying to figure out how I can make that work. I actually have my track bike here, and I was hoping to go to some C1s or C2s to get some points. But so far, there's no room in my calendar. So it's a bit of a struggle. I was hoping to be able to maybe go to Track Worlds again. I'm not sure how I can do that if I don't have the points and things. But definitely long term, would love to go to 2028. It's just seeing how I can commit to the program and continue on the road. It's a hard balance.
It is a hard balance, and you're definitely not alone in terms of taking the 2025 season to focus more on the road. There's a lot of track cyclists who seem to be making that switch this year to just focus on the road, with the Olympics in 2028 just sort of there, but not an immediate priority. That's 4 years away, right?
I mean, I feel like it will roll around quick, so I got to keep everything open, I think.
Your team is Winspace Orange Seal. How did you get connected with that team?
Yeah, last year, Flo actually told me, like, oh, this team looks like they might be interested in you, the management asked her about me. And so immediately I emailed them, because if you're not completely standout, like, I don't have the most stellar results in the world, so teams aren't just coming to me. So up until this point, I've been doing the email game every year, like emailing all the teams on the UCI list, like, hey, I'm a Canadian, I just want a chance to race in Europe. So when Flo told me this, I sent another email to them. I had already emailed them before that year. And this was probably in May, got an interview. And then it was a bit iffy that they would sign me throughout the summer. And then after Gatineau, they were like, we'll give you a 1 year. And I was so grateful, because I kept repeating to them. Honestly, I had to kind of ask many times that I just want to be in Europe. I just want to learn. And I can be a great bike racer. Like, I think I'm good at positioning and things, like, if you give me a chance to learn. And so I'm very grateful they took the chance on me.
Nice. And you're a bit of the squeaky wheel, but sometimes that's what you got to do.
Yeah. I think if you want anything, you have to make sure you voice it. It's not just going to be given to you. So,
But you were at Gatineau. You were fifth in the Tour de Gatineau, correct?
yeah.
So I guess that might have helped things a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. That helped. I felt like I had some strong results before, but yeah, maybe that result helped the most because it was like right there then at the end of everyone getting signed.
You mentioned Florence Normand, Flo, and I understand she's your roommate. What's she like as a roommate?
Yeah, it's been really great to come to Girona and have Flo here. She found the apartment. I just signed the lease. I moved in, and it feels like we have kind of like a sister relationship. But honestly, she is so experienced on living on her own and being independent that it helps me a lot. So I'm very grateful. And even just traveling to races, she's like, "Oh, we got to get this train," and yeah, it's been great.
So we mentioned Florence, and there's also your teammates Nadia Gontova and Jenaya Francis. Why are there so many Canadians on Winspace?
Yeah, it's actually a very great question. All of us had different approaches to the team. Like nothing was connected, I would say. Like when I found out Jenaya had signed, I had already had an interview. And so that just seemed, yeah, Jenaya is a great climber and she had some great results last year. So the team was interested in her. And then I had some results in different kinds of races. So we're different riders. And that could have been interesting to them. Not so much our nationalities, I'm not sure. And then Flo was picked up last year midway through the season. And then she's a super great domestique so far in the team. She's been sick, but great teammate. So they kept her on. And then Nadia, when Nadia signed with the team, I had no idea that that was even a possibility. I just saw Winspace posted on Instagram, Nadia signed. And that was when I was just still talking to them. I hadn't signed yet. So I'm like, oh, that's cool.
That's interesting. So there's all these separate conversations going on. It's not like all four of you marched up to Winspace and said, sign us up.
No, like before that, I didn't know Nadia at all. Like I'd never spoken to her. And then Flo, same. I knew of her, like, because I don't know, you just know people in cycling. But yeah, not connected really.
Your teammates, Canadians, are also all really into knitting. I think Nadia is the main instigator there, but she says you're a knitting machine. You're very fast. How long will it take you to finish the sweater you're working on?
Actually, I just got a package and I have to go get it to make that sweater. But right now I'm making like this hooded scarf. But actually, I learned to knit from Ariane Bonhomme at Track World. We were in Copenhagen, and Copenhagen is the mecca of knitting, and she was so stoked to go around to all these knitting shops. And so I went around with her because obviously we were in Copenhagen. And then I was like, I guess I should probably start this if we're going around all these shops. And then she showed me how to make a hat. And then I was addicted after that. And then it just happened to be, I saw Nadia knitting on the team. I was like, no way you knit. And she's so much better than me. The way she knits is insane. Yeah, she says I'm fast. I think she's way faster.
And that was Kiara Lylyk. I actually ended my conversation with Lylyk at that point, even though we spoke about some of the races she was planning to do, including Paris-Roubaix. But unfortunately, she has suffered a concussion during a training accident. She's on the mend and no doubt looking forward to when she can start racing with her team once again. In Lylyk's interview, she mentioned that the different skill sets of each of her Canadian teammates likely played roles in getting each of them on Winspace. She noted that Jenaya Francis is a good climber. Francis is the final rider I spoke with. Here, she shares her thoughts on the team, her season ahead, as well as hummus and hummingbird cake. Jenaya Francis, welcome to the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
You recently raced Nokere Koerse, a one-day race in Belgium. How did that race go for you?
It was a really cool experience just in general because it was my first time racing in that region of Belgium.
and first like dot pro race as well. So I kind of went in just like the team didn't put too much pressure on me. They just really wanted me to support the other girls and learn as much as I could. I just felt like I was just learning the whole time. I feel like I saw a lot of things to improve on just like within the bunch. Like, oh, it's just so chaotic. So it's just kind of like learning to balance that and find your flow. But as the race went on, I managed to like help Kiara, my teammate Kiara Lylyk, who we were going to try and sprint for. Managed to help her a little bit. So that was really nice to do. But unfortunately, there was a bit of a technical problem, just like with a crash. And some of us got caught up behind it. Kiara actually ended up crashing. So we didn't get to play in the final as much as we wanted. So that was a bit disappointing. But one of our other really strong riders who actually got second in Omloop Nieuwsblad, she managed to stick with the front bunch and put in a pretty solid performance. So
you mentioned that was your first time racing that course, but you've also done a few other races for the first time this season. I'm thinking Vuelta, Extremadura, as well as the Trofeo Palma Femina. What have those races shown you?
Just like the racing in Belgium, I also learned how much of a step up like the pro peloton is, and also how important like riding with your teammates is. I think that's really like one of my biggest takeaways. But also I learned that I really like racing in Spain.
Spain over Belgium?
For me, as of right now, I would say yes.
How did you get into racing bikes?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, my family always kind of like rode bikes. We really enjoy the outdoors, hiking, camping, all that kind of stuff. And pretty like adventure-based family. So bikes are a pretty natural way to like go on big adventures. So when I was little, we like would go camping and do mountain biking. And my parents kind of did a bit of cycling when they were pre-kids. So I think there was just a bit of a natural push towards racing, like no pressure, of course, like just could do it if we wanted. And I did a bunch of other sports, and I did a little bit of bike racing, like when I was like 10, 11, 12. I did this program where I grew up called the Lorianne Munzer program. And I could do all the different disciplines 1 or 2 times a week, but nothing like ever really like stuck until kind of around COVID, when I couldn't do any of my other sports. And the only thing I could do was take my bike out for exercise. And that's when I really got like hooked on racing. I was like, okay, this is what I like to do.
The Lorianne Munzer is named after the track cyclist.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
So how did you get connected with your current team, Winspace Orange Seal?
It happened like really fast last year, and like a little bit out of the blue. Like, so I raced 2 seasons with a Dutch club team, and we were able to get into some really good races, some of them being in the Czech Republic. And I did a race called Grazia Orlova, and I managed to do some pretty good stages there with some pretty good competition. And yeah, they just reached out after that race. It was about May last year.
I find that striking. This team seems to be actively looking for people, and I know it can be tough finding a gig as a cyclist, but it seems kind of nice to have someone approach you instead of you. I'm sure you were looking for teams as well, or you have feelers out as well. But what was that like? Have someone have a text come into your phone or an email into your inbox? What was that like?
It was kind of like, no way. Because I had been for so long just searching for something, just trying to like insert myself somewhere, make those connections, just try and keep progressing. Because I feel like ever since I started racing, I always made like a different step each year towards like my goal of being in the pro peloton. And so when that finally came, I was like, oh my gosh, that was so simple. But I mean, of course, it wasn't that simple because I had to do some of the other things. But
yeah. But it's sort of like a nice bonus, or it's just a nice, maybe to use a cycling metaphor, you could coast downhill for this part. The rest, the uphills will come again, I'm sure.
Yeah. And they did.
Right. And like, how was it coming on board with the team? Like, was there team camps? What were those like?
The team was really good. Like, they made like the transition into the completely new environment super seamless for me. And I feel like already really at home, and it hasn't even been like that long into the season. But we had a pre-season camp in December at the service course. So that was really nice just to get familiar with the staff and feel out the vibe. And then we've also had 3 camps actually since that. So in the Mallorca block of racing, we did a couple days of training prior to those races. So we spent a week there. And then we also did a week of training together just 2 hours south of Girona. And then the third one, we did 2 days of recon in Roubaix after Nokere Koerse. So that was interesting.
Yes, I've heard about the Roubaix recon. How did you enjoy the cobbled sectors?
I don't know if I could use the word enjoy.
No.
It was cool. It was very cool to see the history and be on those roads, and just cool to know that like women get to race on them. So I just kept telling myself that.
Right.
Cool to be here.
I'm as you know, I've spoken with your teammate Kiara, and her hands were like frozen in a claw position after riding the sectors. Did you find that too?
That was like one of the scariest parts, is I was like, I can't use my hands. So like whenever I would go to brake, I'd be like, I can't brake. Yeah. And we had a tailwind too when we did the recon, so the speeds were pretty high. So I was like, oh God.
So you're looking forward to that race then?
I don't think I have to do it. So.
Oh, okay.
I can breathe a little bit easier, but we'll see.
All right. Well, maybe next season.
Yeah, maybe next season.
So the question I've been asking all your teammates the Canadian teammates, is why are there so many Canadians on this French team?
I definitely think that there's so many Canadians on our team just simply because there's so many more talented young Canadian female riders. Like, we have people showing it's possible to win world championships. We have like the junior field is really deep. But yeah, I just think that there's, I don't know, just this like boom of like talent coming in. I think people are kind of recognizing that and wanting to, give opportunity, which is really nice to see.
That's exciting. And yeah, well, it's just so exciting to see from this side of the pond, seeing, riders having a chance to race at all these big races.
For sure.
All right, I'm going to switch gears a bit. Do you have a hummus budget?
It's definitely worked into my budget.
Okay. Is it like, how much hummus do you buy a week? Do you have I heard you have a favorite hummus.
I do have a favorite hummus. Hummus is just my favorite food.
Okay.
But there's a really, really talented cook in Girona. She actually used to be a pro cyclist until just a couple years ago. She does like this little like pop-up kind of hobby where she makes these like absolutely amazing meals, and they come with like pita bread and a salad, sauce. She does like these really good chocolate covered dates and stuff, and it's just really good high quality food. But I buy a lot of hummus.
Okay. And you have your own hummus recipe that you make yourself?
I do have my own recipe. I do. But in my opinion, it's not as good. The textures are just not quite right, but I love hummus.
And your teammates have told me that you love to cook in all other, not just hummus. But is there something you've cooked or baked recently that has gotten you, that you're really excited about?
Well, yesterday I made a cake that I was really, really, really excited about, but I dropped it.
Oh no!
So I'm gonna have to make it again. It's called a hummingbird cake, and it's really good.
If only it had wings like a hummingbird, then it wouldn't have hit the ground.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I hope version 2 goes well. All right. Next question. Which do you like better, hide your assets or exploding kittens?
Oh, this is a really good question. I love games.
Right.
It's called Cover Your Assets.
Oh, Cover Your Assets.
In case anybody wants to buy it, I highly recommend it. But I think I'm better at exploding kittens, so I'd have to say I like that game better.
All right. So that's the board game tip, the cooking tip, and the hummus budget. These are the hard-hitting questions I needed to cover in this interview.
Oh, those are my favorite questions.
All right. Now back to cycling.
Okay.
You've done different cycling disciplines, mountain, cross, and now you're focused on the road. Where do you see those other disciplines fitting into your career, or just will you be returning to any of those other ones anytime soon?
I don't think I'll return to any mountain bike racing. I love mountain biking, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite kind of racing. I really have big goals on the road. It's really what's motivating me, but I mean, never say never. But cyclocross, love cyclocross. It's kind of it's not like nostalgic, but it's something that we've always kind of done as a family. So I really enjoy that part of the fall. So I definitely, whenever I can, I will try and work some of those races into my calendar. So
what is ahead for you this season on the racing front?
I have some pretty exciting races coming up on my calendar. If you'd asked me last year if I thought I'd be doing these races, I would probably have laughed. I'm going to be starting 2 monuments at the end of April, as well as some other pro races, but I think the biggest ones are definitely Amstel Gold Race and Flèche Wallonne. So that is quite exciting.
That is exciting. Well,
yeah.
Well, good luck at those races. I hope that all goes well. I hope your next hummingbird cake goes well. And
thank you.
It's been great talking with you. I hope we speak again.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
And that's the episode. It is written and edited by me, Matthew Piaro. I had help from Matt Hansen. Thank you, Matt.
How did you even survive without me, this podcast? This boat must have been sinking.
Well, I had help from Jake. Thank you, Jake, once again.
Oh, right.
You're welcome. And, third time's the charm. Dare I call myself a co-host, or am I still, featured writer on the pod? Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. Thank you for being strung along yet again, Jake Williams.
Amazing. That's all we can hope for.
No, we really appreciate it. And thanks also to Adam Killick, producer Adam. He also does the music on this episode, all episodes of the Canadian Cycling Magazine podcast. We also need to thank Ontario Creates for its support. Guys, because of the magic of recording, right now, I'm in Sea Otter and I'm seeing amazing new things.
Size 42.5, by the way, just in case you forgot.
Yeah, and I heard mountain biking, we're doing 36-inch wheels or something, 32-inch wheels. So let us know how the air is up there.
I will. I'll look at those very large. I think my first instinct when I saw those wheels that were being shared around on the interwebs is the mullet has gone penny farthing. We're going to have penny farthing mountain bikes.
I thought we were off on April Fools. I was like, guys, it's a couple weeks away. What's going on here? Another thing? Come on.
Another thing? Oh my God. Yeah, just the convulsions that are going to have to be going through the design of a mountain bike just for that wheel size. It's just going to be amazing.
42.5. That's my shoe size.
That's your shoe size. Okay. All right. And now we know some of your passwords.
A lot of them involve your name, actually.
Which is your name?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Crap.
Wow.
Oh, boy. Okay. High Security Hansen, thank you very much. Jake Williams, thank you very much. Everyone, thank you for listening. Ride safely, no matter the size of your wheels, whether they're 26 inches or... What is the new size? 30 what?
I think 32.
32. Oh, man. Ride safely, and we'll talk to you later.